Now that the 6th season of Rick and Morty has started to air, I thought what better way to celebrate it other than talk about the single shittiest, most awfully written, most terribly constructed, and in general just the worst episode of Rick and Morty. And yes, I know that finding out which episode is the worst is really subjective. However, I think the IMDB ratings are a very good way to figure out which is objectively the worst episode. The episode that we're going to talk about is Rickdependence Spray, and if you're anything like me and the names of episodes say nothing to you, is the episode with the giant sperm monsters and the incest baby. Let's quickly summarize the plot, and in case you haven't figured this out on your own yet, massive spoiler warning. The episode starts out with Morty at Beth's horse hospital being amazed at the horse jizzer. Morty uses it for an entire week, after which Rick brings home a canister filled with horse semen to make a bioweapon to kill some underground cannibalistic horse people called Chuds, but the semen is actually Morty's. Morty somehow convinces Rick not to check if it's horse semen or not. This is a big reason why this episode sucks ass, in my opinion. Because Rick acts like a complete brain dead, he gets convinced and unleashes giant mutant sperm monsters into their world. Rick's behavior is so unlike him, it feels like he knows everything and just wanted to pull another vat of acid on Morty, but sadly he wasn't. The whole family meets up with the president at the Pentagon. Morty is again portrayed as fucking God himself. Rick and Morty grab nukes and go to the Grand Canyon. In the Grand Canyon we see the sperm monsters again, and now we see their queen. They reveal to Rick that they are actually Morty's sperm and not horse cum. They cover Rick in ice cum. This sentence is another reason why I'm not going to heaven. There is also this sperm monster that recognizes Morty for some bizarre reason, whom Morty calls Sticky. He saves them from the cum machine and the sperm start to head for Las Vegas. The Las Vegas scene is just made so they could animate Beth and Summer jumping on large semen monsters while killing said monsters. This scene is actually pretty cool, but the actual idea behind it sucks. It is revealed that Summer's egg has been enlarged so they could lure all the sperm into a secluded area, and eventually when they kill every monster and think they won, Sticky gets into the egg and creates a giant incest baby which is launched into space. Don't look at me, I am just as confused as you are. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Rick and Morty had resolved the lifelong battle with the Chuds because Rick got their princess pregnant, and for some reason the Chuds decided to help them in the battle against the sperm monsters. In the end, the princess births a child, making Rick a father again. What the fuck was this episode? This episode also has a B-plot about sexism and shit. It could be a very interesting subplot or even a main plot for a Rick and Morty episode, but it just feels like a throwaway gag here more than anything. Beth and Summer keep getting fucked over because of said sexism, and that's the entirety of the B-plot. Honorable mention, there is this professor called Shabooboo who is one of the minor characters in this episode. He says, "I have a solution," and jumps off a high building, killing himself. This is the second time Rick and Morty has made someone kill themselves while saying that shit. It was funny the first time, not as funny the second. Honorable mention too. In the end scene of the episode, we see the giant incest baby, whom Summer calls Nerdo in a later episode. It's as fucked as it sounds, and Morty is now officially a father of at least 2 children. So, now we can actually talk about the problems with this episode. When I was watching this episode for the first time, I had this theory that this Rick was our Rick in the past, and this Morty was Rick's initial Morty who would eventually turn into evil Morty. That was, however, not the case. This episode really surprised me at first, because we have actually seen episodes that have a similar plot to this. One of said episodes is the Vat of Acid episode. Long story short, Morty criticizes Rick for making a fake vat of acid and harangues Rick for not taking his ideas seriously. Rick, being mad, makes one of Morty's ideas, a portable save point device for escaping death and correcting mistakes, and hands it over to Morty. One thing leads to another. Morty forms a long-term relationship with an unnamed girl and survives a plane crash with her, after which Jay pulls a Jerry and accidentally presses the reset button, putting Morty back when he didn't achieve any of what he did. Morty, being traumatized, goes to Rick for comfort and says that he learned his lesson. Rick reveals that the saving mechanism wasn't actually resetting anything and instead was killing other Mortys from alternate dimensions and replacing them with our Morty. And now he merges all the realities together so the damage becomes minimized. However, that means that all the people who knew about Morty's wrongdoings were mad and wanted revenge. Rick provides only one escape, which is jumping in a fake vat of acid and faking his own death. Reading some comments under a video also talking about this episode, I noticed a specific comment saying, "I honestly thought this was a simulation for Rick to expose Morty for using the horse machine." The first time that I watched this episode, my main theory was that this entire season was about Rick's past and that the Morty that we were following was actually evil Morty when he was still our Rick's Morty. Because even in the previous episode, A Rickconvinient Mort, Rick doesn't behave like himself. After he and Summer make a promise to get no attachments, Rick immediately gets attached to an alien called Daphne, blah blah blah. Summer prevents an apocalypse from happening because Rick was acting dumb, and Daphne leaves Rick because she was no longer in danger. Summer apologizes to Rick, but Rick brushes it off, telling her that she acted a lot like him and that he would have done the same if it was needed. This and the shit episode that was Rickdependence Spray led me to believe that this was a part of something much bigger, and that we were going to see more episodes like these, and by these I mean in which Rick is acting dumb as fuck, and that the season finale would show us how both Rick and Morty learned everything that they needed to become the Rick we follow today and evil Morty. Sadly, that was not the case, which makes me really sad to see Rick and Morty go on a somewhat of a downward spiral. Most of Rick and Morty's episodes are great, which is why the bad ones stick out like a sore thumb. I still think this episode was more of a test than an actual episode. By that I mean this episode was specifically made to test out the boundaries which the creators can and cannot cross. In the Inside the Episode of Rickdependence Spray, the writer of the episode says,
I don't know how this is an episode. I still don't know how this is allowed to be on TV, to be honest.
This gives me the general idea that maybe this episode wasn't made to be watched and was actually made to see what they can and cannot get away with in a TV show. To conclude everything that I said, basically a TLDR, the episode Rickdependence Spray is the lowest rated Rick and Morty episode on IMDB for a reason, and the writer of the episode, Nick Rutherford, says it best.
I think it turned out disgusting and tasteless.
Okay, so I'm going a bit off script here. So I wrote this script around 2 months ago and a lot has changed since then. For example, the 6th season of Rick and Morty has aired, and they actually solved a lot of the problems that I had with the show, mainly the Morty gets punished for what he has done problem, and they actually solved it in the first episode. So if you haven't watched the new season, I highly recommend at least watching the first episode, as it has easily become one of my top 5 favorite episodes. So yeah, highly recommend it. Watch at least the first episode. Now, the video has finished and you can leave. However, I want to talk about something different for a minute or so, and by different, I mean this channel. This channel that this video is posted on was made to see if and how I could trigger the YouTube algorithm by posting shorts, and as you can see, I have over 420,000 subscribers and almost no videos. And I get that it's weird. And to that I have to say this. YouTube monetization is a really good thing to have, and with the content that I was uploading previously, it was pretty much unobtainable. So I hope you can forgive me for the past of this channel and hang around, because I have some really big things planned for the future. Anyways, that's it. See you next time.